Welcome to the Dealer Playbook Podcast. My name is Michael Cirillo, and each week I sit down with the brightest minds in marketing, sales, and leadership to help you level up your career in automotive. Thank you so much for spending your time here with me today. Now let's open up the playbook. Here we go. All right, so I'm sitting down now with the man, Mike Lieberman, and we are going to dive into a topic that is so important. You need to really pay attention to this. Mike, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook Podcast.
No problem. I'm super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so what I love about this is, first of all, the way I found you was, I think, by being the subject of exactly what we're going to talk about today. And that's why I think for those watching and listening, it's really important that you pay attention to this, because me, the guy that you are here with, fell into the category of people that kind of are attracted by what Mike's doing. And so I want to turn this over to you. We're going to be talking about inbound marketing. We hear a lot about this. You know, I think a lot of people are familiar with the HubSpots, and I think they coined the phrase or the term. But I want to turn this over to you. What the heck is inbound marketing?
Great. Wonderful first question. So in essence, what inbound marketing is, it's the kind of marketing that earns a prospect's attention, as opposed to the kind of marketing that attempts to interrupt us in our day in a hope that it will grab our attention and we will remember that interruptive message. And the reason that inbound is gaining so much traction, and why we're so passionate about it, and I can talk about this in more detail, is because it really matches the way consumers buy today.
Right.
We have literally created a number of technologies to prevent the interruptive message from reaching us. I don't watch television commercials. My shows are recorded on my DVR. I watch them when I want to watch them, and I fast forward through all the commercials, literally removing those interruptions and diminishing the value of anyone who paid for advertising during that show.
Sure.
Ad blockers on our laptops are another wonderful example. Ad blockers on our cell phone, our smartphones. It will become more and more difficult to get to your consumer with traditional media, which is why inbound gives us such an exciting alternative to what we've always done in the past.
Let me ask you this. I mean, because it makes sense. Let them consume on their terms, not on yours. And I mean, we see this all over the place. I picked up on the fact that marketing had become so disruptive when I was like standing at a urinal in an airport with like this TV in my face, and it was just like, trying to just jam messaging into my brain, and I ignored all of it because it wasn't interesting to me. And like you said, with the Netflixes of the world and all those sorts of things, I think the reason those types of services have really launched as big as they have in recent years is because they understand this concept of let them consume on their terms. Like just make it so much easier. And I think because there's so much out there and everybody's broadcasting, 24/7, it all gets ignored.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, look, the car dealer is a perfect example that we use often when we talk to our clients about the change in buyer behavior. Back in the day, the car dealer's big objective was to get you into the dealership, get you into the car via the test drive, and then basically, wear you down until you came to some agreement and purchased a car, right?
Yeah.
And that was the model, right? And it worked beautifully when there were no alternatives to the sales rep being in control of the process, right? If I wanted to buy a car, I had to go to the dealer, I had to follow their methodology, which was drive the car, then sit down and go through the dance to get the car. That is completely different today. I bought a car recently, and I did all my research online. Mm-hmm. I found what a fair price was. There's so many resources now that are independent of the dealerships and independent of the car companies where you can find out what a fair price for your car is, whether you want to buy it or lease it, all your options, it's all right there at your fingertips.
Yeah.
The buyer is now in control of the sales process, and the marketing now has to match that. Advertising to me about how cheap your prices are and how great your people are with your funny banana thing that you're doing that, people are just not interested in that anymore. I don't actually even need to take a test drive. So many people buy cars now. They're like, yeah, I know all about the car. I don't need to drive it. I'm sure it's a wonderful car. Just let me take it out of the shop finally.
It's funny you say that because I even think of myself, the quote unquote millennial, obviously on the older side of that spectrum, but I would say I'm even tech savvy enough that, and this sounds really cheesy, but I think it's an indication of where we're headed even into the future, is I can watch videos of test drives, the 360 spins of the interior. When I've consumed enough information, I almost feel like I have the emotional intelligence that, lets me know what it will be like to even sit in that vehicle. And so I even found on my last vehicle purchase, I didn't even feel the need to take it for a test drive.
Me either. And I'll tell you that what's interesting about your comment is, again, when you really understand how people buy things, they make the purchase decision emotionally, right? So you said so yourself. You made the emotional decision. You want the car, right? You know what features you want. You know what color you want. You know what your options are. You know how much you should be paying for it. So 75% of that sales process, which a sales rep used to have to manage, we now manage ourselves. And then the last 25%, we come in and we literally, unfortunately, need somebody to help us fill out the paperwork and get the loan approved and give us the keys. And honestly, if we didn't need that person, it would be even better. If we could literally do the whole thing online, show up, get in the car, and go home, it would be even better. But you always need someone at the very end to help you with some of the rationalization type decisions, like when can I pick it up? How much is it going to actually cost me? Am I approved for the loan, or how much am I going to put down, or whatever it is? So you do need a sales rep, but a sales rep is coming in at the very end just to facilitate the deal, not to convince me I want this car versus another car, or this model versus another model. I've done all that all myself because the car companies basically have provided me, and the review sites and the people that I've talked to online about who bought the car bought the similar car, I've gotten all the other information I need.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like the dealers have really married the way they market their dealerships to the way people buy products.
Yes, and as you said that, I was just thinking, do you think it's because there is a fear of, holy crap, if we do it that way, we could be putting so many, there's 230,000 just new car sales professionals in the United States alone. Do you think there's this fear of, but if we move to that model, then we might have to put so many people out of work, and that could cause a problem because if I only need people at the end of this cycle to facilitate the deal, then I'm not going to need. We often have this mentality in the car biz, which is like a body is better than nobody. And so I think you're kind of on the right track. I do think change is scary to almost everybody. Like humans in general are afraid of change. And you're talking about a pretty big change here. You're also talking about car companies that facilitate some of this bad marketing by giving them money to do this and not money to do other things. Sure.
We have a small relationship with John Deere and the John Deere dealers, and it's a big issue getting them to give those dealers money for our kind of marketing, but they are very comfortable giving those dealers money for advertising, right? So there's a bit of a switch that has to happen there too. But I think the biggest issue is, look, this has always worked in the past, and we're comfortable with it, and we know how to do it, and we're just going to keep doing that because that's what we've always done. And I don't really understand this new stuff, so let me keep doing what I'm doing, and at least I know I'll get something out of that.
Yeah, let's drain that bucket until it's completely empty. I'm wondering, though, and like you said, we've always done it this way, and I call it picture price advertising. Picture a vehicle, that front three-quarter shot, picture price, air tilt cruise, local owner, lady driven, that sort of a thing. And when you look at it, say a car dealer's website, that's still really the philosophy or the methodology that they're following to attract leads. Yet when you talk to a dealer, you say, hey, what do you want to do with your website? I want leads. How do I get more leads? What do I do? So turning this over to you, this is really your wheelhouse, and I've seen on your website that you're on a mission to generate 1 million leads for your clients, which is phenomenal, and you're at the 700 plus thousand mark, which is huge. what do we shift? How does a car dealer go from, hey, the reason you would submit a lead is because you want to get our e-price, to something that's a little bit more encouraging, maybe a little bit more compelling, and like you said earlier, kind of meeting the consumer on their terms?
Yeah, I think this is also one of the reasons why we haven't seen this happen very often is I think it has to stop being about the price of the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And I think that dealers really tend to really lean on, $199 a month or, $299 a month, no money down, like all the same things that everyone else is saying. Like as a consumer, it's very difficult to know whether I should go to this dealer, that dealer, or the other dealer. And I'm much more comfortable today feeling like I'm going to get a fair price than I was maybe 10 years ago. So price has to be put in the back seat finally, once and forever.
Sure.
I also think they have to stop yelling at us, honestly. Like the sales manager screaming, "Do the deal!" and like all the. I don't know why anyone possibly thinks that's going to encourage me to come in. If anything, I don't want to go near that guy. He's so scary to me, right?
Yeah, sure. He's the dude wearing the gorilla suit.
Exactly, right. So I think it really, and what we try to do with our clients is it really has to come down to the experience. What's going to happen when I come into this dealer? If you want me to come in, and I have to come in to buy the car, so if you want me to get in there, you have to create a much more consumer-centric and consumer-friendly experience for me, right? Like I've been kind of encouraged and disappointed at the same time with the chains that are offering like no haggle pricing, right? Like CarSense and CarMax, I think are two of the bigger ones. Like whatever we say on the, and I think Saturn did this too for a while they were around, if they're still around. But for some reason, I guess no one ever believed them. So they would go in there and attempt to haggle anyway, and they'd be like, no, there's no haggling. And then people were disappointed. So I think they have to really start to think about the experience that they're going to create when I come in. And it's not, it should be about breaking down my expectations about what it's going to be like. It's not going to take 3 hours. If you know what you want, come in and we can get the car and you can get out in 20 minutes. Like that would be interesting to me because that's honestly how I feel like it should be, right?
Sure.
I can get, no problem. We can pre-approve you online over the, so that you don't have to worry about that or wait for that because that's concerning to people too. Well, what's my credit score and am I going to be able to buy this car and how is that going to affect? So removing those experiential barriers that are preventing me from coming in or allowing me to continue to procrastinate my decision here. Not feeling like I'm going to be jumped on when I show up on the lot and, maybe I have an appointment as opposed to just showing up and the team converging on me and whoever gets to me gets the, gets the deal.
You're the next up.
Right. Like all of those feelings present like agita to me. And again, like what I try to teach my clients is the goal of good sales and marketing is to remove those feelings and to make me feel so safe and comfortable. Yeah, I'd love to come in. Like I'm going to have a cup of coffee and you're going to get it done for me in a few minutes. And I have to fill these forms out online. Absolutely. I would love to do that. I don't want to be there all afternoon. And I'm going to actually get to meet with you and not, someone I don't know. I like you. We've had a conversation, Those are the things that I think these dealerships have to look at and then market that, right? Actually, the last time I bought a car, I went to a BMW dealer thinking that was the car I wanted, and they actually created a pretty good experience. Like it wasn't hard sell, and it was kind of more like my living room and softer and friendly. I know they're like a higher end and that kind of thing, but those are the kind of things I think these dealerships have to start looking at is what's the experience going to be? How do I promote that? How do I get people to realize this is different than what I've been used to? It's going to be much more comfortable, much safer. And now you know what? I'll pay you $220 instead of $199. I'll pay you $225 instead of $199. Shoot, I'll pay you $250. I don't really care about the $30 or $40 a month. Now, I know some people are really looking for bottom line pricing, but I think most of us would be happy to pay a little bit more to get a much more comfortable experience.
Yeah, and not only that, I think paying a little bit more, knowing you're getting a good experience also changes the psychology of the consumer because it lends itself to that peace of mind that comes post-sale, even pre or post-sale, because they go, well, there's no way they would be more than their competitor if they're not going to take care of me. Like that just doesn't sound like good business.
Right.
What I find interesting about this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're basically saying the best inbound marketing strategy starts offline.
What I'm telling you is the best inbound marketing program works when there's marketing strategy at the foundation of all of the tactics. And this is something that people miss a lot with inbound. They think it's about the website and the blog and the email and the content that they're publishing and the search and like all the tactics. They think inbound is about the tactics. And to be quite honest with you, there's literally nothing interesting about those tactics. There's no secret sauce to those tactics. You know what they are, right? Yep. It's like the hammer and the screwdriver. Like we all know what the tools are. There's no secret tools in the tool belt. The secret is the strategy part of it and the thinking. What are we going to email about? What stories are we going to tell on the website? What content are we going to publish to get them to feel safe and comfortable in my dealership? And that starts with strategy. And unfortunately, a lot of people undervalue strategy. They don't really understand it. They don't want to do it. They want to just jump right to the things that they can touch and feel that they're comfortable with. So again, a lot of what our job is to try to help clients understand that we really want to invest some time and energy and money into this strategy piece of it, into the thinking piece of it, because then the execution becomes much, much, much better. When clients come to us with their programs and are like, Mike, we don't know why it's not working. It seems like we're doing all the things we're supposed to be doing. And I go to their website and I'm like, I don't know what you do. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you only have 10 seconds to tell me what you do on the web. And I just can't tell. Like I see it's something with this but it's just not clear.
Right.
Like, that was a mistake made in the strategy part of that engagement. They didn't take the time to come up with a really simple, clear, emotional, engaging, compelling story that you can tell in 10 seconds.
It's so funny you say that, because in that one statement you basically summed up, I would say 99% of car dealer websites out there. And do you think it's because there's just this feeling of, holy crap, we got to move, that everybody starts, everybody's idea of a strategy is get more leads. And basically what you're saying is, yes, get more leads. That's kind of that's where we want to get you to. But what do the steps look like that get us from where you are currently, 0 leads, to more leads? And let's start banging out those things.
Absolutely. And I think also people are, again, we're creatures of habit. So, I don't know what to do. Look at the guys down the street. What's he doing, right? Like, he must be successful. We'll do the same thing as he's doing, right? That's a safe decision, right? He can't be wrong. He looks like there's people going in there. Looks
not
like he's
realizing he's doing the exact same thing. They're going, holy crap, they must be doing something right. What are they doing? And they're both chasing each other. So
that's the safe approach, right? I can't really hurt myself if I'm doing what they're doing. However, that's the complete opposite thing of really what you want to do in marketing. What you want to do in marketing is stand out, and standing out is uncomfortable. If you and I were going to a party later tonight and I said, like, Mike, I need you to wear a clown suit because you will stand out in your clown suit, and you told me you want to stand out, you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to be really uncomfortable in a clown suit. People are going to be looking at me and wanting to know why I'm in a clown suit. I'm going to be like, yes, exactly. That's what we want. We want them to look at you and want to know what you're doing and why are you doing it, right? So you would be super uncomfortable in that scenario, but I would be mission accomplished. Everyone knew who you were, right?
Yeah. Well, and for those that know me, probably be like, we need to go one step deeper, because Cirillo would totally show up in a clown suit.
You would do that, right?
I'd be like, let's giddy up, man.
Right.
Yeah, it makes total sense. So basically, if we're looking at this from kind of a foundational level, first step, stop focusing on price, because that's nothing, and so stop for sure. Next step is, determine what it is that you want to achieve. I mean, you need to do that, but let's start digging into those, albeit maybe small steps that will get you from point A to point B. And I love what you said. If at the end of that, somebody shows up to your website or consumes some of your marketing and in 10 seconds has no clue what you do still, then maybe you need to pivot a little bit.
Yeah. Let me give you a great example, because we did some work with a boutique car dealer many, many years ago, specialized in kind of like high-end used cars. So we said to him, and I think this applies really to any car dealer, when you're bringing your car in for service, I don't understand why everyone can't have a loaner. Okay? here's this dealer with tons of cars that are sitting on the lot. People are coming in, they're waiting in the waiting room, or they're getting shuttled back to their house, and like neither of those are awesome scenarios, right? And here's an opportunity to give them a car that they could drive for the day, that they could have probably a good experience in, and be like, wow, it was a really cool car. Like, I might want to buy that. I might want to buy that car, right? Yeah. And by the way, what a great agency. What a great dealership. Like, they just gave me a car to drive. And I know, like, maybe there's some logistical issues associated with this and insurance and mileage on these cars, but I always feel like those are issues that these car dealers could work out if they wanted to, right? Sure. And now you can market. Bring your car in, you get a loaner, you never have to wait. We don't even have a waiting room. That's how cool we are. Like, everyone goes to work or goes home, and, you know, it's just a whole new way to think about how to provide a service to, and now when they're buying the new car, you can promote that in the new car experience. Like, you never have to wait for service, or just, you know, like, I ended up buying a Range Rover. And one of the things I liked about it was the guy said to me, you don't have to ever come in here for service. We'll come to your house. We'll drop off a car, we'll take your car in, and we'll bring it back at the end of the day. I was like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, Seth Godin writes about this concept of free prize inside. When we were kids and we went to the supermarket, which I know everyone gets their stuff on Amazon now, but when we went to the supermarket and you had the huge aisle of breakfast cereals, how did you pick what breakfast cereal you wanted?
The most sugar.
Right. And the toy that was in the box.
And the toy. Totally. The toy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's one of the things we want our businesses to offer their prospects and their clients too. Like, what is the free prize inside that makes you talk about this dealership to other people? Just like I told you that story about the Range Rover dealer who's going to come to my house and drop off a loaner and take my car in for service, and I never have to go in there again. Like, in 7 seconds, I told you a remarkable story about a dealership. And if this appeals to you, what are you going to say to me, Mike? Who is that? Where is that dealership? I need a car in a couple months. Like, I want to go check them out. Free marketing, a referral-based, word of mouth, and differentiated, all in one nice little package. But that takes some thinking and planning and strategy. And yes, you can market that in an email. And yes, you can market that on your website. And yes, you can market that through whatever the various tools are that you have access to. And now you have something interesting to say, not just $199 a month.
Yeah, 0.9% APR financing. Yeah,
right. Which no one knows what that means anyway.
Now, how much of this? Because I mean, from your experience working with John Deere and kind of knowing this rock and hard place, right? There's the OEM who's saying you got to do certain things this way, and then there's the dealers who are going, man, it would be cool if we could do this. I mean, how do you find a balance? Because I know for a large part it is the manufacturers who are saying, well, you need to talk about 0.9% APR financing because for some reason, maybe unbeknownst to us, we think that that's important for you to tell people. And so the dealers, I mean, I think just accept a lot of what gets forced on them. How much room do you think, though, there is still for them to say, okay, yes, here's what the OEM says, but let's stop and think about this for a second and maybe spin it into something that you just talked about, like just kind of innovate with it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think there's two sides to that. I think that in general, I think the dealers have enough power that if they got together, they could at least ask for some concessions on some of the rules associated with the co-op money that they get. Mm-hmm. And I think that there are, like, a lot of what we're talking about is like in addition to, not instead of, right? So yep. There's no reason that you can't talk about your loaner program or your 15-minute, get you in your car and out of the dealership program. Like, you can talk about those things, and you can talk about, the price and the financing and the other stuff that maybe the dealer is asking you to, the car company is asking you to include in your advertising. I think you could probably do both. And I would rather it be, 80% the interesting stuff and 20% the not interesting stuff. And I have a feel, I don't know this for sure. This isn't, dealer co-op advertising is not my area of expertise, but I think there'd probably be a way to play within the rules and still tell a much more compelling story.
So really the essence of inbound is think different. And do different, highlight different in a consumable package, basically.
Well, different is really good marketing, right? Different isn't really an inbound or an outbound thing. You want to differentiate your business and marketing is how you tell that story. It's part strategy and part execution. Where inbound comes into play is it's more about being there when they want you, as opposed to trying to interrupt them so they remember you, right? So if I do a search for Range Rover Philadelphia, I need the dealers to come up, right? When I see their links, this story in the few words that go along with that link has to be interesting and compelling enough for me to click on it, because it's not enough to just be on the first page. I have to actually click on that link.
Sure.
I have to then land on their website, and like we said before, in 10 seconds, I have to find a compelling reason that I want to continue with this dealership's website, because I could easily just hit the back button and go to the next listing. So if they're not telling me an interesting story there's no reason for me to stick around, right?
Sure.
I think a lot of the other thing that inbound helps us remember is most people are not ready to buy a car today, right? And I think dealerships are like most businesses. They're like, I need leads today. I want bottom of the funnel leads. I don't care about people who are shopping. I want people who want to buy a car. Mm-hmm. And that's very short-sighted, and that's not really how you should be thinking about how you attract people to your company. 90% of the people are not ready to buy a car today, but they are going to buy a car, and you want them in your database. You want them to identify themselves as a lead, and you do that by giving them related content that they can digest at their own pace, right? Why is my car different from another car that you can buy? Why is my dealership better than another dealership you can go to? 10 things to look for when picking your car dealership before you walk in the door. Like, well, that's interesting. I'm going to a dealership at some point in the next couple months. My lease is up. What should I be looking for? I haven't bought a car in 3 years. I don't know. Give them the content, get their contact information, and then you continue the conversation in a one-to-one way. Marketing isn't one-to-many anymore. It's one-to-one. Sure. And if you can continue that conversation in a one-to-one way, when my lease is up and I finally have to buy a car, it's not like, wow, what do I do? I'm like, oh, this guy's been talking to me for 3 months or so with interesting concepts. I don't have to do this. I'm going to that place. At least I'm going there first and giving them the chance to get the deal.
Yeah. Well, and what's interesting about what you just said there, and gosh, I wish I could remember who said this, but they said, marketing is no longer B2B or B2C, it's human to human.
Human to human, that's correct. People do business with people. It's all about the individual. That's why I'm such a big, studier of buyer behavior and the way our brains work around buying things. The buy button in our brains is the same part of the brain that controls fight or flight. That's why when sales reps come near you, you feel very nervous. Your defenses come up like, no, I'm just browsing. Like, get away from me, right? Like, that's the fight or flight response, and you don't want that. You want people to be open and comfortable and relaxed. We always say your goal in sales is not to sell them something. Your goal in sales is to make them feel safe. Once they feel that they're going to make a safe purchase decision, you're good. You're done. You did the deal.
Love it. This is something that's so important. We need to be thinking in this direction. We need to start executing in this direction, I think, to build sustainability, longevity in our businesses. Things are only going to continue to change. I think the more, like you said, you can be where your consumer is when they want you and how they want you, the longer, the bigger chance you have the next time a 2008 financial crisis rolls around that you'll be able to weather the storm, because I think those that survived that and are coming out, better because of it are the ones that focused on this building of the relationship. And now with technology, the means for us to be able to share a message is so much more powerful than it has ever been. And really, I feel like the crux of what you're talking about here is you can reach out to them, take them by the hand, and lead them very gently through the funnel.
Yeah.
So that, like you said, when they do buy, because they will, maybe not today, but they will be thinking of you, not the 10 other dealerships around you.
Right.
Love it, man.
100% correct.
Mike, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook. How can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
No problem. They can check out our story at square2marketing.com. They can follow me on Twitter at Mike2Marketing. And if anyone wants to ask me a question or connect with me directly, feel free to email me, Mike at square2marketing.com.
Love it. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you. Really had a good time. Thanks for having me.